What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Guiding Keys, the story of Kingdom Hearts presented by the Unlockables podcast. As always, I am your host. My name is Eric, and I have been and continue to be your guide through the wonderful world of the Kingdom Hearts series and through the wonderful mind of Tetsuya Nomura. I'd like to thank you so much for tuning in wherever, whenever, in time and space you may be located. As you can see by the title of the episode today, we are going to be covering Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep, Nomura's enigmatic episode 0, the prequel to Kingdom Hearts 1 that takes place 10 years prior to the events of that game. But if you remember or haven't listened to last episode, in the last episode we covered Kingdom Hearts 358 Days Over 2, which told us the story of Roxas and his time in the organization, and also introduced us to the character of Xion, who is now gone and nobody remembers. But we are beyond that. We are beyond the story of Roxas. We are beyond the story of Kingdom Hearts 2, and we are moving into uncharted territory with Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep. And this game is a big one. It's very important, despite the fact that it was relegated to the PlayStation Portable, the PSP, with its UMD discs. This game is a big one, and it's one of the ones that I hold in higher regard, despite not being as highly polished as the mainline releases are. This game does a lot of heavy lifting lore-wise and introduces us to what is really becomes the overarching connection between all of these games and establishes the Xehanort / Dark Seeker Saga. But before we get into all that juicy lore story tidbits, we need to do what we always do and just kind of talk about the game in general. So let's go ahead and dive in to Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep. Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep was developed and published by Square Enix in collaboration with Disney Interactive Studios for the PlayStation Portable. This game was made by the Square Enix Osaka team, which would go on to become the main Kingdom Hearts team in the future. It is the 6th installment in the Kingdom Hearts series, but it's going to be actually the 5th game in our Guiding Keys series because the remake of the mobile game Coded technically came out after Birth by Sleep, and even when you play the 1.5, 2.5, the collection, Birth by Sleep is listed before Recoded, and I think having the knowledge of Birth by Sleep and then playing Recoded, the little bit of information we do get from Recoded it's helpful to have the background knowledge of having played Birth by Sleep. So that's why we're doing this in the order we were. I know I said at the end of Kingdom Hearts 2 we were going to do Days and then Recoded and then Birth by Sleep. I decided to call an audible and switch it up a little bit. This game was, of course, directed by Tetsuya Nomura and co-directed by Tai Yasue. You've heard me mention Tai Yasue, a Nomura partner in crime for a long, long time, and who actually leads the Kingdom Hearts team now. Music was done again by Yoko Shimomura. The game was written by Nomura, Masaru Oka, and Daisuke Watanabe. Oka would become a series regular writer from here on out, while Watanabe wrote on a ton of games from Final Fantasy X onward. Release dates. Birth by Sleep was released for the PlayStation Portable in Japan on January 9th, 2010. North America, September 7th, 2010. PAL regions, September 10th, 2010. And then Japan got a final mix version of the game 1 year later, January 20th, 2011. And of course, as I mentioned, it is included in the Kingdom Hearts 2.5 HD Remix collection that came out in 2014 for the PS3 and later for PS4 and Xbox One. And that is, of course, included in the 1.5 and 2.5 collection and the Story So Far collection. Critical reception for the game, Metacritic, it's sitting at an 82 out of 100. Game Informer gave it a 8.5 out of 10. GameSpot, a 7.5 out of 10. IGN, a 8.5 out of 10. And RP Gamer, 4 out of 5 stars. A couple of awards. Won the Japan Expo Best Portable Console Video Game. The ASC2 MediaWorks 10th Best Game of 2010, and Games Radar listed it as the 26th best PSP game. And in terms of the PSP, Birth by Sleep is tied for 17th best-selling game on that console with 1.27 million copies sold, roughly the same as Battlefront 2, another game that I also had for the PlayStation Portable. So as I always do, I always start the episode with some initial thoughts, some personal feelings with the game, because my connections to the games are the reason why I'm doing this whole series in the first place. So let's talk about it. As I mentioned at the top, this is Nomura's vaunted, rumored, mysterious Episode 0. It is a game that takes place 10 years before the first Kingdom Hearts in the timeline. It serves as a prequel, basically like the Star Wars prequel stories. But more importantly, it sets up the rest of the story arc for the remainder of the series. When I played this game, I was just out of high school based on the release date, so it came out in 2010, so I would have been a year into college already. But I bought a PSP several years ago because I was enamored with the idea of being able to play PlayStation 2 games portably. That was the reason why I wanted it, because when you're younger at that age, you have the Game Boy, and I remember my friends and I are always like, it'd be so cool if we could take these big console experiences on portable the way we do and have the Game Boy. And, you know, fast forward 20 years now, we have things like the Switch and the Steam Deck that can play games, big AAA, big main title games, pretty close to what a console experience could be. Just kind of a dream come true for your inner kid. So I had a job in the summer cutting grass around the time the PlayStation Portable started. I think I was like, came out. I think I was like 13 or 14. I couldn't quite work my first minimum wage job until I was 16, which I worked in a grocery store. And I saved up all of my grass cutting money. I cut a couple neighbors' yards. They gave me like $25 a week to cut their yards, which back then, a lot of money to a 13, 14-year-old. $25, like that's, and cutting a couple yards a week. I made some pretty decent money during the summer, just cutting people's yards. So I remember end of one summer, I saved up all my money. My mom wasn't too thrilled about it, but I went to my bank account. I emptied out all the money I needed for buying a PSP, and that the rest was history. I remember very clearly playing games such as Untold Legends, Brotherhood of the Blade, Battlefront 2, a couple others. I had the Advent Children UMD, so watching that several times. And this was despite the fact that I watched Advent Children but had never played Final Fantasy VII before yet at this point in my life. I just thought it was really cool. So, yeah, Final Fantasy Advent Children made no sense to me because I had no background knowledge for Final Fantasy VII. In terms of Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep, I think it was announced a little while after I bought the PSP. I was very highly anticipating this game. The community and myself had waited 4 years for the next Kingdom Hearts installment. The way I looked at it, the main Kingdom Hearts installment, because I didn't play Days or Coded when it came out. I think Coded was Japanese only, released on smartphones, and then Recoded came out after Birth by Sleep. Even though this game came out like 4 or 5 years towards the tail end of the PSP's release, I still wanted to play it. We were finally going to get some answers to the mysterious and intense secret movie that was at the end of Kingdom Hearts 2 that featured these armored Keyblade wielders doing this epic battle in this wasteland. And I'm not going to sit here and describe the whole movie for you. Just search Kingdom Hearts 2 like Final Mix Secret Ending and watch that video, and you can see why back then the tonal shift in that video was so different than what we were used to in the Kingdom Hearts games. And it was so mysterious that it really captured the community's imagination for several years. And at that time, 5 years from Kingdom Hearts 2 to Birth by Sleep, the game that would answer all of our questions, was a very, very long time. I will admit, my initial reaction to this game was a little lukewarm due to one of the mechanics not being able to function great on my PSP. I'm not sure if this was due to the fact that, and I don't know how the PSP works, if there was like low storage. I didn't have a SD card for it or a memory card. And so one of the core mechanics in the game is something called a form change. When you use certain commands, we'll talk about this in the gameplay, your characters enter a form change where they have increased abilities, elemental attacks, like things that are related to the commands that you used. And when I was playing on my PSP, every time a character would go to do a form change, there'd be like a 15 or 20 second buffer where gameplay would just stop and the characters would freeze. And then like 10 seconds later, they would form change, and then you'd go on there. And form changing is a big, big part of Birth by Sleep and happens a lot. So just imagine like in the battle, like 2 or 3 times every battle, the game pausing for 5 to 10 seconds before you can continue playing as the character changes forms. It was incredibly annoying. I played the whole game that way. Everybody's storylines, I completed the game. I played the whole game that way, and it kind of left a sour taste in my mouth. I didn't revisit it again until it came out with the HD collections. And thankfully, the HD remasters kind of gave this game a second life in my eyes, because first of all, PlayStation Portable is kind of hard to come by. Nobody's going to go out of their way to buy a PSP just to play Birth by Sleep if they have no interest in the PSP. And the HD remaster basically fixed the form changing problem that I had with the game on the PSP. It's instant, it's fast, it takes like a microsecond to change forms. And even though this game doesn't quite reach the heights of Kingdom Hearts 2, it just makes it a much better overall experience. And of course, along with the HD remasters, we got all the final mix stuff that was in the version that Japan got in 2010, which is probably the coolest part of those HD remasters, is we get all that extra stuff, because if you wanted that extra stuff in those games, you either had to import the Japanese version or you just had to watch it on YouTube. I mean, that was the first way I discovered the Roxas fight in Kingdom Hearts 2. I was like, my Kingdom Hearts doesn't have that, and realized that's the final mix versions. The remastered Birth by Sleep right now is probably one of my favorite Kingdom Hearts experiences. It's probably top 3, top 4, because the story it tells reframes the entire narrative we know so far, and it's unique amongst Kingdom Hearts stories that it tackles the opposite side of the themes that have been established so far, and has a rather somber ending compared to previous Kingdom Hearts titles. In the light of Sora's happy endings, we get more somber endings in line with what we've seen from Roxas and Xion. And this kind of makes sense, because whenever you have like a trilogy or series of games, I kind of break this up into like trilogies of games. So Kingdom Hearts 1, Chain of Memories, and 2, and I guess Days to an extent, are kind of like the beginning part of the trilogy. And then you have this middle part of the trilogy that is Birth by Sleep, Coded, and again, it kind of reminds me of like Empire Strikes Back, to where how that movie kind of left on like the bad guys got the upper hand, you know, revenge of the bad guys type of thing. The middle portions of these Kingdom Hearts games very much feel like that, because they include a lot of games that have more somber endings. And then, of course, we have the conclusion, heroes versus villains at the end, Kingdom Hearts 3, Dream Drop Distance, that sort of thing. And in terms of lore and story, this is by far the most important game in the series. It does so much heavy lifting despite being a portable game and being relatively short compared to other full titles. It still manages to tell a complete story. And we get just this insane, like we couldn't believe at the time that the story took this turn. And of course, this game is also super important from what it tells us by introducing Master Xehanort as the overarching villain of the first Kingdom Hearts saga. Xehanort, I'll have more thoughts on him. He plays a big part in this story, and I'll have more thoughts on him when we get to the conclusion of all the characters' story routes. He gets a lot of crap for being like this generic mustache twirling bad guy who always has a backup plan and whose plans have plans, and kind of this puppet master that is thought of and always has a one up on all of our heroes. But I think the way he's written in his relationship with the main heroes and the way his motivations fly in stark contrast to the lessons that Kingdom Hearts teaches us makes him one of the most compelling antagonists in video games. Notice how I didn't say villain. He's one of the most compelling antagonists, because there's a difference between an antagonist and a villain. A villain just does evil things for the sake of being evil. An antagonist tends to hold values and beliefs that cause conflict with the protagonists. And I think as we go through the games and talk more in depth about Xehanort's character, we'll touch on some of those things where you'll see that. And there'll even be a couple of moments where you're like, almost like the Thanos thing, right? Where he's like, I must wipe out half of life to save the galaxy. And you're kind of like, yeah, that's kind of fucked up, but I get it. It makes sense, but it's still kind of fucked up. It's kind of like that, where it's like you have a moment or brief moments where you're like, okay, I can understand why he's saying these things, and he's not just being evil for the sake of being evil. So we'll talk about all that when we get through all of the different story arcs in Birth by Sleep, and we'll kind of touch on him. And we'll probably do a much more in-depth dive on him when we get to the conclusion of the series in Kingdom Hearts 3, the conclusion of his arc. So keep that in mind, and we'll, from here on out, Master Xehanort is going to be a big, big, big part of the story. So get ready. With that being said, before we talk about the development history, let's talk a little bit about the gameplay and presentation. In terms of the gameplay and presentation, I mentioned before the story is split among the three protagonists of the game, Terra, Aqua, and Ven, and you play all of their story paths separately. Each of the characters plays slightly different, and their skills and form changes reflect that. Terra has a slower style of combat with powerful attacks, and he's associated with the element of Earth. Ventus is speedier with faster combos and associated with the element of Wind/Air. Aqua's skill derives from her mastery of magic and is associated with the element of water, kind of similar to how the original Kingdom Hearts trio is associated with the elements. Combat is a pretty standard affair. You have your basic Keyblade combos that you perform by hitting the attack button over and over, and just depending on the character's style, like I said, Terra's is slower, Aqua's is a little more balanced with magic, Ven's is faster. That's pretty much your variations in your basic combos. Where Birth by Sleep is unique is that it introduces the command system. Everything you can do, from magic to special moves to using items, is now a air quotes, I'm doing air quotes, quote unquote command. And you build these commands into your command deck, which have a maximum number of slots by the end of the game. And these commands are things like Fire, Cure, Strike, Raid, Sonic, Potion, Elixirs. It's your magic, it's your special moves, it's all that kind of stuff. You can integrate these commands into your combos and attacks, and when a command is used, it goes on cooldown for a predetermined amount of time until you're able to use them again. So this is a pretty major change, and again, plays with magic in a way that Days does. Because of this command deck system and everything having its own individual cooldown, this eliminates the MP system altogether. Magic points, MP, it's gone. You don't need MP to use your attacks. You don't need MP to use your magic. Where in Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, those would all pull from a set determined pool of magic points. You don't have that. You have these commands in your deck, which is above the menu, that you can use at any time. And all you have to do is wait for them to cool down in order to use them again. So you might think, well, that's just kind of cheap or whatever. And the more powerful commands you put in there, and some of them take a lot longer too and are pretty balanced. So you might just think like, oh, if I just have a bunch of cure commands, like, won't that be too easy? But yes, but the commands, the cooldown time for cure tends to be a lot longer than some of the other ones. So you'll start to figure that out as you experiment with the deck system. You keep that in mind a little bit. This is a more refined deck system than the pure card-based system that was present in Chain of Memories. I think it allows for more expression and a less rigid structure and eliminates some of the just RNG stuff that could occur in Chain of Memories systems with people throwing out zero cards and just kind of the random decisions that the CPUs would make. Commands have their own level too, and you can level them up to level 3, level 4, level 5, depending on the tier of command, and you do that by just using them in combat. When commands are at max level, you can fuse multiple commands together to make a new command that does something entirely different. For example, you can fuse 2 level 3 fire commands that are the highest level command that fire is to make Fyra. And you can combine 2 fire commands together to make Firaga. Fusing Blizzard and Strike Raid together forms Blizzard Raid, where you throw your Keyblade, but it has a Blizzard element attached to it. And there is elemental damage, so if you try to use Blizzard on a Blizzard-based enemy, it won't do as much damage. A lot of physical commands can be fused with commands to create interesting combos. And Terra, Aqua, and Ven all have character-unique commands that embody their style and element when you get to the really, really high tier level of melding commands. Fusing commands also serves another purpose. Some enemy drops are the synthesis, quote-unquote, materials, aka crystals. And when you meld commands, you can choose a crystal when fusing, and the resulting command will also have an ability attached to it. When you equip that command, you get the ability. And when you fully level up that command, the ability is yours to keep. So these are your basic Kingdom Hearts abilities that you've come to know and love. Your HP boost, your combo boost, your second chance, your leaf bracer, fire boost, treasure magnet, all that stuff. That is your standard suite of KH abilities. And there are a lot of them. And there are tons of different commands, tons of different crystals that give you different abilities while fusing. So this encourages experimentation. It encourages leveling up your commands and fusing them together to not only find different fusions to see what they do, but get a wide array of different abilities. And you'd basically never run out of commands because you can buy base commands at the shop, your fire, cure, all your level 1 base commands that you can level up and fuse together. Outside of leveling up, which just gives you your basic stat boost every time you level up, your defense up, your magic, your HP, things like that, your entire set of customization revolves around the command system. In kind of the same vein that I felt with Days, the panel system, I think this is a good thing, but it can also be a bad thing. It's good because, like I said, it encourages experimentation, so you don't have to stick to one set of commands, and I think commands allow Birth by Sleep's combat to be a lot more dynamic compared to Memories and to Days. But it is bad because you're never sure which command fusions will give you which abilities. The crystals that you fuse with have vague descriptions of what type of abilities they provide, but if you're looking for a specific ability, that's going to be a lot of trial and error, which leads to grinding. The game doesn't mark which commands or abilities have been found, so you're constantly having to remember which fusions gave you which abilities. And at this point, it's been experimented with enough that you can just look up a graph on the internet and it'll tell you what all the combinations are and what combinations of commands and crystals will give you what abilities. So, like I said, it encourages experimentation, but if you don't want to experiment and grind at all, you can just look at a guide online and figure all of that out. Another thing Birth by Sleep introduces is shot lock. You can hold the R button for a targeting reticule to come up, which locks onto an enemy and releases a shot lock attack, which uses your focus gauge. This is a cool addition that is carried forward in future games. It gives you just an additional damage dealing potential. It just gives you another way that you can deal damage. It also features the D-Link system, which is short for Dimension Link. When you meet characters in the game, you can form D-Links with them, and you can call on them in battle to use some of their powers. So this really ties into the whole connection part of Kingdom Hearts, is that your heart is connected with the people that you make. You can draw on their powers in battle. So, for example, I used the D-Link with Ventus when I was playing as Terra a lot. When you level up the D-Link with Ventus, you get some temporary boosts while using it. Ventus gives you haste, meaning your attacks are super fast, and this is useful because Terra is slow. So all these D-Links with these characters, when you level them up, give you some kind of special advantage that is unique and fits with the character's theme. And I think that's kind of a cool way to utilize the characters that you've met in kind of this additional way and represent the bonds forged between people's hearts in the actual gameplay of the game. All of these concepts combine to give you a lot of options in terms of expression in combat. Some of these are overpowered. There are some broken combos, but it's still fun to experiment with. I think this more than makes up for the fact that Birth by Sleep's combat isn't nearly as crisp and polished as Kingdom Hearts 2. The revenge value system isn't still as fully implemented, with enemies being able to attack and interrupt you at random whenever they feel like it. And this is especially obvious in some of the brutally hard boss and secret boss fights. It's not as egregious as Days, but it's still definitely noticeable, especially on higher difficulties. There are new Disney worlds to explore, which we'll touch on that in the story portion of the game. Each of the 3 characters they all explore the same Disney worlds, but they all explore a little bit of different aspect of the Disney world from one another. So you're never getting the same playthrough 3 times, and you're getting to explore 3 different parts of the world as you play through the game. As I said, too, the game was supposed to have multiplayer functionality. The Mirage Arena was an arena where you could connect with friends over the internet to fight in boss battles and fight and all that kind of stuff. And the command board is worth mentioning. It's a board game style thing you could do with friends to get commands. I don't fuck with the command board. You can do that single player, but I don't really care about it. I didn't have Kingdom Hearts friends at the time, so I don't have any background related experience to the multiplayer functions, but both Mirage Arena and command boards are playable solo. And this, obviously, the multiplayer functionality was removed for the HD remaster re-release. So if you really, really want to play this the way it was God intended, well, I don't even know if you can anymore, because I don't even know if like the network capabilities of the PSP are still up, or if you can like connect locally. I don't know how that works. Overall, the game looks fine. Both the PSP and on the HD collection. For this era, the art style obviously mirrors that of Kingdom Hearts 1 and Kingdom Hearts 2. It looks very close to a PS2 game for its time. All of the flashy command and ability effects look great. It really adds to that action RPG feel. But again, it still was a portable game, and it feels just a tad slower and just a tad less refined than a mainline, main-numbered console Kingdom Hearts release. Kingdom Hearts 1, 2, and 3 blow all the other games out of the water just in compared to their technical prowess. They're just so much smoother games. They're so much more action-oriented games. It's not even close. So I think that pretty much touches on the gameplay presentation, everything you kind of need to know about that. Going into the development history here, I feel like I set up a lot of what was going on at Square Enix at the time during the Kingdom Hearts 358 Days episode, where we kind of talked about how Square was leaning heavily on mobile games. Nomura put this crazy plan into action while he was waiting for the engine to be done for Final Fantasy 13, where he's like, I'm going to make 3 Kingdom Hearts games at once. That was the scenario we were in at Square. If you want to get the background on that, I'm not going to repeat it here because all these things were happening at the same time. Go listen to the Days episode and listen to the development history, which is probably like 25, 30 minutes in. And the way Square Enix lied about 13 and Versus 13 being in development and stuff like that. So it's actually pretty interesting. So in terms of the development history of this game, this is probably going to be one of the shorter development histories, because I've touched a lot on the Osaka team working on Birth by Sleep, then getting pulled off of it to work on other stuff, and then going back to work on it. So it's pretty much just going to be that, because the bulk of the information around what was happening with Square at the time is in the Days episode. So go and listen to that. But let's dive into this brief development history very, very quickly. In terms of development history, this might be one of the shorter ones just because we've covered so much of what was going on during this time at Square Enix during previous episodes. On the 358 Days episode, we took an in-depth look at the strategies Square Enix employed going into the PS3 generation, the development of Crystal Tools, the reliance on handheld titles, and the bold ambitions of Tetsuya Nomura to develop 3 Kingdom Hearts properties at the same time. We now turn to Birth by Sleep, the enigmatic Episode 0, the game that would serve as the prequel to the entire Kingdom Hearts series and reframe the story as we know it going forward. Out of the 3 handheld titles, Birth by Sleep is by far the most important, and it would go on to become one of the most important games in the series, setting the overall story arc for what would become known as the Xehanort or Dark Seeker Saga. Birth by Sleep would end up being the game that was teased in the secret end movie of Kingdom Hearts 2. Where mysterious armored warriors wielding keyblades would do battle with an old man and a person in a mask beneath the pale moonlight of Kingdom Hearts. The game had technically been in development since 2005, and originally began as a game on the PS2 with Sora as the prototype protagonist. The Square Enix team in Osaka had been chomping at the bit to work on a Kingdom Hearts property, and Nomura agreed to let them helm the spin-off. The plot outline was completed for the game, but just 6 months into the development of Birth by Sleep, work was paused, and the Osaka team was reassigned to an ambitious project that was going to be included in the final mix version of Kingdom Hearts 2. This ultimately was a complete 3D remake of Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories. With the release of Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix Plus in 2007, work could resume on Birth by Sleep, and when work did resume, the decision was made to shift development to the PlayStation Portable. Nomura had ideas that he wanted to implement using the PSP's network capabilities, and these took shape in the form of the Mirage Arena, a multiplayer hub where friends could connect with one another to take on challenging bosses together. And in terms of the title, Birth by Sleep, well, the explanation is a little dumber than you would think. Nomura's primary motivation was that he really wanted a title that used the word buy, as well as using an English name for the game across all markets, as he had done with prior titles. The birth and sleep part, we'll expand on that when we reach the conclusion of the game. Birth by Sleep would release in all regions in 2010 and received positive critical reviews, with critics noting its accessibility to newcomers due to the fact that it was a prequel. And as it sits on Metacritic right now, it is currently the 4th highest rated Kingdom Hearts game behind the 3 mainline numbered titles. This wouldn't quite be the end of the story, however, as Birth by Sleep would be included in the Kingdom Hearts HD 2.5 remix that released in 2014, bringing the important prequel to the console for the first time. Another compilation, Kingdom Hearts HD 2.8 Final Chapter Prologue, which brought Dream Drop Distance to consoles, a playable episode titled Kingdom Hearts 0.2 Birth by Sleep, A Fragmentary Passage, was included that was a brief continuation of the story of Birth by Sleep, while also serving as a tech demo and mini prequel for Kingdom Hearts 3. Despite originally being a handheld game, Birth by Sleep remains one of the most important titles in the Kingdom Hearts series, changing our view of the Kingdom Hearts stories we had seen so far, as well as setting up a narrative arc that would define the series until its conclusion in Kingdom Hearts 3. Alright, with that brief history out of the way, let's dive into the story. In this episode, we're going to focus on Terra's path. And like I said, you can play the path of each protagonist to get the entire story. We're going to be playing the recommended order of the paths, recommended by Nomura, which is to play Terra's path first, then Ven's, then Aqua's, but you can play them in any order. I really, really think the game and overall story benefit from playing Aqua's part last, because she ends up being an incredibly important character. So for this group of episodes of Guiding Keys, we're going to do one episode per one story and then wrap up the entire thing in an epilogue episode where I kind of connect everything together, talk about some plot threads and where this leaves us in Kingdom Hearts overall. I think that's the best way to do it. So you'll be getting 4 episodes on Birth by Sleep, and I think it warrants it because it is an incredibly important game. So let's talk about our story. Before we dive into Terra's story specifically, we get an opening scene that really sets the tone and gives us some interesting information, not only for the rest of the game, but the rest of the series. We open on a scene of Destiny Islands, a panning shot of the entire island, and on one of the pans along the shoreline, we see a young man dressed in all black, arms and shoulders exposed, with white hair. And as he stares out at the sunset, he utters one sentence.
This world is just too small.
We transition, and it's nighttime on the islands. A man in a black coat stands near the palm tree where we've seen Sora, Riku, and Kairi sit so many times. And he lays something wrapped in a white blanket on that palm tree. Inside the blanket is what appears to be a boy with spiky blonde hair. And as our scene transitions once again, we see that boy falling in the darkness as the blanket flies off of him. And we see revealed a young boy who looks exactly like Roxas. He comes to a stop on a blinding white platform, and as he asks, "Where is he?" a voiceless entity responds, saying that it is a brand new heart. We're clearly in this blonde boy's heart, and this is a familiar dive to the heart that we've gone through so many times. So understandably, he asks the entity, why, if it's a new heart, why is it in his heart? To which the entity responds that it was drawn by the light. The blonde boy says that the light is his heart. And as he says this, the camera pans over to reveal that the platform that he's standing on representing his heart is shattered. There's like a chunk of it, almost a third of it, that's been shattered away. The boy confirms this as much. He says that his heart is shattered and the rest of it is slipping away as we kind of see bits of it slowly breaking off and falling into the darkness. The entity then tells the boy that he should join his heart with it. And as it does, the fractured part of the platform that represents his heart slowly fills in and becomes whole to reveal a familiar stained glass platform that we've seen so many times now. The entity continues, saying that their hearts have touched, and that one day the boy will be strong enough to win back the part of his heart that slipped away. The voice then tells him to wake up, and the boy agrees, saying, "Right, open the door." Back on the island, the figure in black begins to walk away, seeming to leave the boy on the island to die, fade away, but suddenly the boy raises his hand and summons a keyblade, and a beam of light emits from the keyblade and explodes in the sky. And the boy slowly begins to open his eyes as the man in the black coat grins, and we see a shot of his lower face, which sports a white goatee. We transition to a different scene now, a room, and as the camera slowly pans, we see the same blonde boy laying in bed, stirring awake similar to the way Roxas did when he started Kingdom Hearts 2. He looks out the window and sees meteors shooting across the sky and is visibly excited. He rushes outside to get a better view, and as he does, we get a title shot of the world we are in, which is called the Land of Departure. So first off, let's do some proper introductions. This boy's name is Ventus. Ventus is referred to both as Ventus and Ven by the characters in this story. I'll use it interchangeably. This bit serves as a tutorial as Ven rushes out of an ornate-looking castle, palace, manor type building where his room was. And on his way to get a spot to see the meteor shower, he comes across some obstacles, and this introduces us to combat and motion in Birth by Sleep. It's basically an obstacle course where you attack things, run around, figure that out. Ventus finds a nice spot to watch the meteor shower, and laying down, predictably, he dozes off. And when he does briefly open his eyes again, he sees his blue-haired friend and one of our other protagonists, Aqua, peering over him, startling Ventus. This is basically a shot-for-shot recreation of the opening of Kingdom Hearts 1 when Kairi was standing over Sora and he startles awake after he does his dive to the heart. Almost exactly one-for-one shot recreation. It's very interesting. Ven is feeling a serious sense of deja vu, like he's done the exact same thing somewhere else. And Aqua rubbing his hair like someone would do to a younger brother, telling him that it's not possible. He's always been there with them. Ven and Aqua sit on the edge of the cliff and look out at the stars, and Ventus asks Aqua if she ever wonders what they are. But before she can respond, a third voice chimes in from behind, saying that the stars are other worlds and their light is the light of their hearts. This man is tall with brown hair and defined muscles, the third member of our protagonists and friendship trio. His name is Terra. Terra joins them, and it's very obvious that the three are close friends, with Terra and Ven having almost like this brotherly bond, and Aqua being their very close friend. We have a quick sparring session with everyone that serves as a combat tutorial, and after this, the friends just go back to sitting on the cliffside and watching the meteors, and this is when Aqua jumps up and gives us some exposition as to what's going on. She mentions that how her and Terra have their Mark of Mastery exam tomorrow, and she made everyone good luck charms. By the way, I didn't mention it, during that sparring session, all three of them are Keyblade wielders. Obviously, we know Ven had one from the opening moments of the game. Mark of Mastery exam, all that stuff, they're basically Keyblade wielders in training, and we'll touch on this a little bit when we start diving into Terra's story. They have their exam tomorrow, and she made everybody good luck charms. She produces 3 star-shaped charms, and she calls them Wayfinders. And they are very important, and because of them, this trio of heroes is referred to as the Wayfinder trio. Aqua explains that one of the worlds out there has a star-shaped fruit, the Paupu fruit, on Destiny Islands. That represents an unbreakable connection, and she comments on how they are supposed to be made of shells, the good luck charms, like the one Kairi made for Sora in Kingdom Hearts 1. Imagine that. But as long as the friends, as long as they carry the Wayfinders, they'll always be connected to each other, the symbol of their friendship. After a while longer, the friends decide to head back in, and as the camera pans away into the sky, we hear their three voices say in unison,
"That would be the last night we ever spent beneath the same stars."
Meanwhile, we transition scenes and we see Mickey Mouse surfing on some waves on a giant book as he gets sucked into a whirlpool, and suddenly the water fades and Mickey crashes to the ground in Yen Sid's study. Kind of a nod, a throwback, a shout out to the Sorcerer's Apprentice from Fantasia there. I really love it. Absolutely fantastic Disney shout out. Yen Sid closes his eyes for a moment and tells Mickey that he can't shake the feeling that something terrible is about to happen. The camera pans and we see 3 stars twinkling in the night sky, obviously representing our 3 new heroes. So what's going on here? Just really quick before we dive into Terra's story. Ven, Aqua, and Terra are all Keyblade Masters in training in the Land of Departure. Aqua and Terra are undertaking their Mark of Mastery exam in the morning, that is their test to become true Keyblade Masters. Ventus is younger and still in training. Seemingly he arrived here after this incident on Destiny Island. It's very clear that he was the one on Destiny Island, but with no memory of that event. We also see King Mickey, who is in training under Yen Sid currently. Remember, this is 10 years before Kingdom Hearts 1. In Kingdom Hearts 2, when they go to Yen Sid's tower, Goofy mentions how Yen Sid was Mickey's teacher. From here, the story splits off into the 3 characters' stories, and certain truths will be revealed when you play each one. We're going to do Terra's path first, then Ven's, then Aqua's, which is the recommended order from Nomura himself. And once we conclude Aqua's story, the full picture will become clearer, and we'll basically have tied up all of the lingering plot threads from the first trilogy, the first 4 games, and be ready to start on basically the second half of the story. So we're going to do that. This episode, we're going to talk about Terra's story first. So let's not waste any time and dive right into Terra's story. So we begin Terra's story the aforementioned day that Aqua mentioned. It is the day of the Mark of Mastery exam, and Terra and Aqua stand in a room in the main building of the Land of Departure before 3 thrones upon a raised dais, 2 of which are occupied. Ven stands off to the side, and as his eyes drift to one of the individuals seated in the thrones, they make eye contact. This individual has dark tan skin and a white goatee, is bald, wearing a black coat with piercing yellow eyes. He meets Ven's gaze and simply grins at Ven, which makes him very, very uncomfortable. But he quickly stands at attention for the other person sitting in the other throne stands and steps forward. He addresses Terra and Aqua, telling them that they will be examined for the Mark of Mastery. This is Keyblade Master Ericus, voiced by none other than the legendary Mark Hamill.
Today you will be examined for the Mark of Mastery. Not 1, but 2 of the Keyblades chosen stand here as candidates. But this is neither a competition nor a battle for supremacy. Not a test of wills, but a test of heart. Both of you may prevail, or neither.
He also explains why the other gentleman is here, and he introduces him as Master Xehanort.
But I am sure our guest, Master Xehanort, did not travel all this way to see our youngest prospects in years fall short of the mark.
Ericus raises his own Keyblade and summons several orbs of light to test their thinking and decision-making in combat. And Xehanort does a quick motion with his hand, coating the balls in an aura of darkness, making them behave erratically, causing one to fly towards Ven, who defends himself while Terra and Aqua handle the situation. At the conclusion, Ericus says the test was surprising, but chose to let it unfold, for they will face uncertainty in the real world. For the next part of the Mark of Mastery, Aqua and Terra must face each other in combat. For as Ericus says, when equal powers clash, their true nature is revealed. As the two of them fight, they seem evenly matched, but at one point Aqua nearly lands a devastating blow with Terra nearly avoiding it. He leaps back, and as he throws out his hand to steady himself, darkness swirls between his fingertips, just for a moment. He notices this and snuffs out the darkness and continues the fight. But this moment was already noticed by Master Xehanort, and his mouth curls into a devious grin. At the conclusion of the test, Ericus commends their abilities, but states that only Aqua has passed the tests. Terra failed to keep the darkness inside him in check, so he failed. Ven and Aqua try to comfort him, but he is devastated, and he tells them that he needs some time alone and goes off to be by himself. Before we catch up with Terra, we actually follow Master Xehanort, who has exited the hall, walking away. He stops in another side hallway to speak to a mysterious stranger who's there waiting for him in a red and black outfit, similar-ish to the one that Riku wore in Kingdom Hearts 1 when he fell to the darkness. Xehanort stops in front of this stranger, asking what he makes of Ventus, to which the stranger replies that he ain't gonna cut it, and that somebody has to, quote-unquote, break him in. To which Xehanort basically tells him to behave because he has to keep up appearances. The camera pans up to reveal the stranger's face hidden by a helmet. We're not quite sure who this individual is. We return to Terra, who is sitting on the steps outside alone, questioning where the darkness came from, telling himself that he is strong enough to keep it in check. But just then, Master Xehanort appears at the top of the steps, and he begins to speak with Terra. And we notice that this is none other than the voice of the legendary Leonard Nimoy.
You are indeed strong. The darkness has nothing to fear.
Master Xehanort.
And yet, how frustrating that Ericus refutes its power. Why, you could train with him forever, and still, you'd never be a master in his eyes.
But why? Help me understand, Master Xehanort. What is it that I failed to learn?
You're fine as you are. Darkness cannot be destroyed. It can only be channeled.
Yes. Thank you, Master.
But before they can converse any further, suddenly the bells begin to ring, and Terra rushes inside concerned as Xehanort grins an evil grin, and he walks into a dark portal that appears. Terra rushes into the throne room where Aqua is already standing, and it appears that Ericus is speaking to somebody at the back of the room. Ericus approaches them and fills them in on the situation, that he just spoke with Master Yen Sid, who informed him that the Princesses of Heart are in danger from a new threat called the Unversed, which are powerful negative emotions that have taken physical monster form. This is essentially the Heartless of this game. Ericus said he attempted to contact Xehanort and inform him on what was going on, but was unsuccessful, despite the fact that Xehanort appeared to have left just moments ago. He tasks both Terra and the newly minted Master Aqua with destroying the Unversed and finding Xehanort, who, as we said, literally just left. And he also tells them that to do this, that he unlocked the lanes between, which are pathways between the worlds that they can use to travel, but warning them that the darkness is closer in these places, but that their armor will protect them. He also tells them they must keep the world order, not to reveal to anyone that they are from another world or that there are other worlds. As Terra turns to leave, Ericus calls to him, telling him that this is a second chance to change his mind and that Terra must conquer his fear of losing, which leads to an obsession with power, and that is what calls to the darkness. As Terra steps outside, Ven chases after him, and Terra tells Ven that everything will be all right. As he takes a few steps, he taps the armor shoulder plate on his shoulder, and in a flash, he is covered in a suit of armor that seems familiar. It's a similar style, almost exact make of the Lingering Will, the secret super boss from Kingdom Hearts 2. In fact, his Keyblade is similar to the Lingering Wills as well. So does this mean Terra is the secret boss from Kingdom Hearts 2? Also, does this solve the mystery of the suit of armor in the Chamber of Repose we saw in Kingdom Hearts 2? Why did Xemnas call the suit of armor friend? Did he know these individuals? It seems to solve this mystery. The armor is used to protect them as they travel between worlds because Keyblade wielders cannot use the dark paths like Xehanort does because it's too close to the darkness. So these suits of armor are specially crafted to protect them in their travels in the lanes between. And it would reason enough that these armored individuals are in fact Terra, Aqua, and Ven, considering they each have a suit of armor. After summoning his suit of armor, Terra's Keyblade emits a beam of light into the sky. It opens a portal to the lanes between. And he then does one of the most questionable, one thing that doesn't sit well with me with this game. He tosses his Keyblade into the air, which it transforms into like a flying speeder bike type thing. And he hops on it and literally flies into the portal. So this is the explanation to how they get around the different worlds here. There are no gummy ships, but their Keyblades can transform into crafts that can help them move about the worlds. Definitely interesting. But it appears here that we meet a lot of people and we get a lot of information in the land of departure. We meet Master Ericus, who was responsible for training Terra, Aqua, and Ven. We meet Master Xehanort, who we can see right off the bat, despite Ericus trusting him and they seem to have a prior relationship, begins to manipulate events. He manipulates the test to make it more challenging than it was. He notices Terra's affinity for the darkness and kind of already starts to plant the seeds of doubt in his mind, telling him that, you know, why can't Ericus accept him as he is? Ericus is too unwilling to accept the darkness, too harsh, too blinded by the light. So already we can see the seeds and the machinations of Master Xehanort coming into play here. So now we're off to go visit the other worlds, right? We're off to visit the other worlds. And you get a couple of different choices here to start off. There are 3 worlds you can pick from. You can pick from the Enchanted Dominion, the Castle of Dreams, and the Dwarf Woodlands, which correspond to the Disney movies of Sleeping Beauty, Cinderella, and Snow White. And if you remember from Kingdom Hearts 1, the corresponding princesses of these movies, Princess Aurora, Cinderella, and Snow White, are all princesses of heart, meaning that they have hearts of pure light, one of the 7 needed to open the door. So it makes sense that these would be some of the worlds that we're visiting because Yen Sid informs Ericus that the princesses of light are in danger. And despite Yen Sid being a Keyblade master no more, Ericus tells us that he still keeps a watch over the worlds and the tides of light and darkness. So just to make things simple here, the worlds are rated on a combat level. I start with this lowest combat level first, which is the Enchanted Dominion, which is Sleeping Beauty. Terra arrives in the world of Sleeping Beauty, and this is the home of course, as I just said, Princess Aurora. He immediately comes into contact with some unsettling monsters with the jerky movement, and it's pretty clear that these are the unversed. These are the birth by sleep equivalent of the heartless, except they are not created by the darkness in a person's heart. They are negative emotions literally given monster form, and they're very kind of jerky and sudden with their movements, especially the smaller, more concentrated ones, as opposed to the heartless and the shadows that are very like shifting and fluid and movie. So I think that can kind of represent the sudden shifts in emotions in a person's heart, the knee-jerk reactions that people can have. Terra quickly dispatches the unversed and heads for the castle. And as he approaches the castle from the causeway, he encounters a horned individual with a black cloak, pale green complexion, holding a staff. And as we know from previous games, this is, of course, Maleficent, mistress of all evil. She seems surprised to see him, saying that a spell had been cast that put everyone to sleep. And after the 2 exchange introductions, Terra asks if she knows anything about the Unverse or seen a man named Xehanort. Maleficent pauses just long enough for you to know that what she's about to say next is a complete lie, and says she doesn't know anyone by that name and asks if he is an outsider like Terra. After Terra is silent and doesn't quite know how to respond to that, she says that she does remember somebody leaving the castle, but doesn't know more than that, and instructs Terra to basically tells him, hey, check out the castle if you're curious. Maybe it has some answers. As Terra rushes to the castle, she also mentions that the stranger mentioned something about imprisoning the light and wondered if he meant Princess Aurora. With this new knowledge, Terra enters the castle, and we kind of know here from her past history that Maleficent never does anything without purpose. She's clearly up to something. To which would beg the question, if Terra is a Keyblade wielder, why would he trust her? And throughout this story, we're going to see Terra interact with a lot of villains, and Terra's major weakness is that he's very easily manipulated into the coming events. And my counter to this before it gets off is that Terra has been trained his entire life basically in the land of departure. He's been sheltered there. He doesn't know anything of the outside world. The only relationships he has are with Ericus and with Aqua and Ven, basically, as far as we know. So when Terra goes out into the world for the first time, and I think this is a part of Ericus's training that fails them, it's their first time out amongst the other worlds, and they don't know really who to trust or how to trust people. So when Terra first sees Maleficent, he gives her the benefit of the doubt and doesn't necessarily regard her. He doesn't judge her based on her looks alone. And of course, we know Maleficent is a master manipulator. We'll see that come into play here in a second. Terra explores the castle and comes across a sealed door that he opens with the Keyblade. And as he enters the chamber to find the sleeping princess Aurora, Maleficent appears behind him. She explains how her heart is made of pure light, one of 7, that when brought together grant the power to rule all worlds, and that Terra's Keyblade can do the job of retrieving Aurora's heart. So obviously Maleficent was lying, and she got this information from somewhere. And here we start to see the start of Maleficent's goals that would attempt to come to fruition in Kingdom Hearts 1. But upon hearing this, Terra summons his weapon, ready to spring into action. He demands to know where Master Xehanort is, but Maleficent uses her power to call on the darkness inside of Terra, controlling him. Under her control, Terra is able to use his Keyblade to extract Aurora's heart from Maleficent, and she then urges him to join her and help her collect the other 6 hearts. Terra is upset, beside himself. He can't believe that he allowed himself to be controlled via the darkness, declaring that he is a peacekeeper. Maleficent scoffs at that idea, and Maleficent keeps her end of the deal, saying that she has no idea where Xehanort went, meaning that she did meet with him, and he did in fact set her on this path. Suddenly, the castle shakes to its very foundation, and Terra rushes off to investigate as Maleficent leaves. Terra defeats a giant boss unversed in the shape of a spinning wheel, which is, of course, thematically appropriate for the world we are in, because you know the story. In the movie, Aurora pricks her finger on the spinning wheel and falls into a sleep. But before he leaves, Terra visits Aurora's chamber to promise her he'll retrieve her heart, her light, once he learns to stand up to the darkness. He can't very well do it right now, because Maleficent can just control him. And so he has to leave this world in this state, vowing to return to set things right. Before we leave this world, though, we see Maleficent one more time, and she contemplates on the 7 pure hearts of light that Xehanort supposedly told her about. She mentions that such a search may take some time before teleporting away, providing a through line to what she was doing in the first Kingdom Hearts game, set on that path by none other than Xehanort himself. Already seeing how Xehanort played a role in the overarching story of the series, setting Maleficent on this path to gather the Disney villains and gather the Princesses of Heart in the first place. We next move on to the Dwarf Woodlands, which we know as the world of Snow White and the 7 Dwarves. As Terra lands, we open on a classic scene, right? The evil queen in this story talking to the magic mirror on the wall, asking who is the fairest in the land, expecting herself to be named because the evil queen is very egotistical. But as we know from the story, the mirror names Snow White the fairest in all the land. Meanwhile, Terra, who appeared in the castle suddenly, hiding behind a wall, is amazed at the prospect of a mirror that can answer any question. The mirror continues, saying that Snow White has a heart of pure light, and this catches Terra's attention, as this is now the second Princess of Heart he has encountered, or at least heard about, assuming that maybe since Xehanort was in the Enchanted Dominion, he could be here as well. The queen, however, overhears this commotion, and she demands to know who is there as Terra steps out of the shadows and presents himself. He asks her if she has seen a person named Xehanort, which she sharply denies. But as Terra goes to leave, she quickly forms a plan, also being a manipulator. She tells Terra that she will ask the mirror where Xehanort is in exchange for Snow White's life. telling Terra to kill her and put her heart in a box and deliver it to her. Terra is worried about the darkness taking him over again, but he decides to play along for now, as Snow White is the only lead he has on Master Xehanort, and having no lead on the origin of the Inversed yet. He exits the castle and finds her in a flower garden, beginning to ask her about Xehanort, to which she says she knows nothing about him. The Inversed suddenly appear, startling Snow White and causing her to flee, while Terra remains behind and fights off the Inversed. And after this conflict, he's convinced that Snow White doesn't have the answers he's looking for, and he returns to the castle. Returning to the queen, who is less than pleased that he didn't carry out her order, she commands the mirror to destroy Terra, but the mirror cannot carry out this order. It can only give answers. It cannot do anything to harm people. But enraged, the queen throws a magic potion at the mirror, causing it to react and consume Terra in a flash of light. The boss fight in this world is a fight against the magic mirror, against the spirit of the magic mirror. It's a pretty cool boss fight, not too difficult. I like that it uses the theme of the world to present this boss. And Terra overcomes the spirit inside and wins his freedom, escaping the mirror. The queen is absolutely stunned, and Terra demands an answer to his question. Seeing that she's outmatched, the queen relents and commands the mirror to answer Terra's question, to which the mirror responds cryptically, "Beyond both light and dark he dwells, where war was waged upon the fells." That is the only hint that we have. The mirror speaks no more when Terra asks it to elaborate, but he's satisfied with the bit of information he has gained, and he departs. He will have to continue his search for Xehanort on another world. We then travel to the world of Castle of Dreams, and this is, of course, Cinderella being the third princess of light. Terra arrives in this world and comes across Cinderella crying in the fountain square. Terra goes to comfort her and asks what's wrong, and she explains the whole story, right, with her stepsisters and her stepmother. Ruined her dress as she was on her way to the ball, but as she's crying, the Unverse appeared, drawn by her negative emotions, and this makes sense, right? She's crying, she's upset. If these manifestations of negative emotions are manifesting in the worlds, they would, of course, be drawn to Cinderella and her negative emotions and the light inside of her heart. But, of course, in typical hero style, Terra defeats the Inverse and rescues her. Cinderella is still upset, but as following the plot of the movie, the fairy godmother appears to make her dreams come true, granting her a beautiful dress and a carriage to take her to the ball, but warning her that just like all dreams, her magic will only last until midnight. And as she goes off, Terra actually talks to the fairy godmother and notes how her heart is filled with light, another princess of heart. And the fairy godmother asks Terra if he has any dreams, to which he responds that he does, but he believes that you have to work hard to make your dreams come true. The godmother admits that this is true, but for many people, simply believing that dreams can come true is half the battle. She encourages Terra to go see Cinderella at the ball so he too may believe. So Terra catches up with Cinderella at the castle, where she is once again surrounded by Unversed, and he escorts her inside the castle all the way to the ballroom while fighting off the monsters to make sure that she is safe. While Cinderella has her ballroom moment with the prince, the events of the movie play out, Terra notices Unversed on the balcony and goes to take care of the situation, but a gigantic one spawns in the ballroom, and he takes action to clear it out while protecting the castle patrons. And he does this. It's a boss fight. There's some floating instruments involved, dancer. It's a pretty cool boss fight. Nothing to write home about, though. After doing this, the story of Cinderella continues to play out as normal. The clock strikes midnight. Cinderella runs away, leaving behind a glass slipper. And as Terra watches her leave, he spots none other than Aqua herself standing in the castle entryway as Cinderella runs out the door. Terra approaches her. Aqua and Terra do a quick catch-up, and Aqua informs Terra that Ven ran away from the land of departure shortly after Terra left. And she asks Terra if he has any idea why Ven would run. Terra is surprised, but then realizes that Ven was trying to tell him something before he left. Aqua then asks if Terra has had any luck finding Master Xehanort, and Terra explains to her that he has not, but that Xehanort is looking for hearts of pure light, relaying to her the information that he has gathered in his travels so far. It's interesting because there's an unspoken tension between the two of them, a level of uncomfortability, things that they didn't have time to clear up between them after the Mark of Mastery. Obviously, Terra is obviously happy for his friend that she achieved her goal, but frustrated that he was not able to achieve it alongside her. And there's just this level of misunderstanding and mistrust between them that's very subtle. And I don't think the voice acting is spectacular in this game compared to the others, but there's the way it's delivered, you can tell there's just a certain level of awkwardness and uncomfortability there about the way Aqua feels having succeeded and Terra has failed, and the way that Terra now views his friend who has achieved a higher rank than him. Before they go, as Terra walks away, he asks Aqua if she still has the same dream, and when she says yes, Terra said that in this world he discovered that a belief in dreams is helpful in lighting the darkness, and Aqua smiles, seemingly acknowledging that Terra is working hard to combat the darkness inside of him. Aqua stays behind a little while longer to look for clues, while Terra decides to move on to another world. With nowhere else to go, Terra decides to go and seek guidance from Master Yen Sid and pays a visit to the mysterious tower. But as he approaches to enter the tower, he catches a quick glimpse of King Mickey himself, Keyblade in hand. But before Terra can say anything, Mickey raises a glimmering star in his hand and basically transforms into lightning and zaps away into the night sky, disappearing. Terra enters Yen Sid's study, introducing himself, and Yen Sid has already guessed the purpose of his appearance, the unverse. But before that, Terra inquires about Mickey, and Yen Sid explains that despite being a king and having the responsibility of a crown, Mickey is still pretty rash and impetuous and eager to use his Keyblade for good. And as a result of this, Mickey stole an item called the Star Shard, which Yen Sid says Mickey does not understand its true power. Yen Sid then reveals that there is a certain masked boy who controls the unversed, but he doesn't have any answers as to who that boy might be or where he came from. And he certainly doesn't have any answers on the disappearance of Master Xehanort. But he tells Terra to approach the problem from a new angle and to consider that the events are linked, meaning that Terra was always approaching that this is two separate problems. The unversed are an issue, and Master Xehanort's disappearance is an issue. But now Yen Sid tells him to start thinking about it from the point of view that maybe one of these instances influenced the other, or there's a cause and effect relationship here. And that gives Terra some new ideas, a fresh perspective. Terra thanks Yen Sid and takes his leave, and as he does, Yen Sid looks contemplative, as he always does, and says to himself, as if he's speaking to Xehanort, that he wishes Xehanort's heart was no longer leading him astray. We wouldn't have to wait long for Master Xehanort, though. As Terra is traversing the lanes between, he hears a voice in his head, and it is none other than Master Xehanort.
Terra!
Master Xehanort!
Terra! Come see me at once.
Terra arrives in a new world. It is a barren wasteland, simply called on the world map the Badlands. He lands in a wide open space in front of Xehanort, but before Xehanort can speak, however, Terra challenges him, explaining how he's been to other worlds and seen what Xehanort has done in going after the hearts of light.
I have been to other worlds. I know all about the things you've done. I just don't understand why.
This is where Xehanort explains everything, or where at least he appears to explain everything from his point of view.
Someone had to safeguard the light from the demon I unleashed. You must know about the boy by now, the one in the mask. His name is Vanitas, a creature of pure darkness, one of my making.
Vanitas? Are you telling me he came from you?
He came from Ventus.
Ventus?
Yes. Vanitas is the darkness that was inside your friend. It was an accident. While training with me, Ventus succumbed to darkness, and there was but one way to save him. Strip that part of him away, and thus Vanitas was made. In the process, I damaged Ventus's heart in the most horrific way. So, I did what I felt was right and left him with Ericus. I knew the boy could not stay with me, the man who did him such grievous harm.
So Xehanort did what he thought was best by taking Ventus to Ericus, even though we saw in the opening scene that the man in the coat, who we now know is Xehanort because of his goatee, he was going to leave Ven on Destiny Island to basically die. He didn't expect him to survive. And this is where Terra has a quick flashback. He has a flashback to him in Aqua training in the Land of Departure when Xehanort first brings Ventus there. Terra and Aqua rush to greet him, but he's overwhelmed and he passes out, which earns them a pretty fierce scolding from Ericus. We flash back to the present now, and Terra asks Xehanort why Vanitas is still free, with Xehanort admitting that Vanitas escaped and he has been unable to find him. Xehanort then tells him that Vanitas has been using the Keyblade to spread the Inverse to different worlds and asks Terra to help him stop Vanitas, to which Terra agrees. At a loss of where to go next, Xehanort suggests that Vanitas is drawn to the light and tells him to go to the City of Light next, which is known in the series as Radiant Garden, aka Hollow Bastion. So at this point, Terra trusts Master Xehanort completely because Master Xehanort was the one who comforted him after his failure in the Mark of Mastery exam by telling him, "You're fine as you are, you're not broken, you're not messed up, the darkness isn't a bad thing." So Terra takes everything that Xehanort says at face value, even though we, the player, know that something is up, because we saw Master Xehanort talking to that boy in the mask in the hallway after the Mark of Mastery exam. That's who that was. That was Vanitas. And it kind of gives us a little bit of a peek into the background of Ventus' story, is that before Ventus came to the Land of Departure to train with Ericus, Aqua, and Terra, he was Master Xehanort's apprentice, which is interesting, and I think we'll learn a little bit more about that when we touch on Ven's story. But we see here that Master Xehanort is manipulating, moving pieces around. To what end, we don't know. But as of right now, our protagonist, Terra, trusts him completely. And at this point, too, it kind of creates a disconnect. It kind of creates a dissonance between the player and Terra. And we've seen Nomura do this before when we, the player, know that Roxas' Sora is nobody, but the character Sora does not know that Roxas is nobody. We, the player, know that Xehanort is manipulating things. To what end, we're not sure yet. Terra does not know this because he trusts Master Xehanort completely. All that he knows is that Master Xehanort is another Keyblade wielder in whatever kind of ranked Keyblade order that he and Ericus are a part of. He doesn't know anything more than that. Sure, he looks evil, is dressed evil, is designed obviously to look like the bad guy, but they wouldn't know that. They haven't seen how anybody else dresses. As far as they know, that's just how he decides to dress. There's nothing wrong with that. So at Xehanort's urging, Terra arrives at the Radiant Garden, entering the square just as he sees Ventus run down an alley out of sight. So both Terra and Ven are at Radiant Garden at the same time. As he enters the square, he is swarmed by Inverse, but he quickly defeats them all, just as he sees Master Xehanort walking down an alley. Confused as he just came from visiting Xehanort, Terra gives chase. Why would Xehanort send him there and just go there himself? It's kind of unusual. Terra travels through the city and eventually comes across a gigantic Unversed flying by him, so he gives chase, arriving at kind of a middle central point in the city where two other gigantic Unversed flying things converge. It's Gundam style, Megazord. All the pieces come together to make a Gundam style. It's like the guard armor fight in Kingdom Hearts 1. And as they merge, who should appear to help Terra fight but both Ventus and Aqua, the trio of friends reunited by fate. The three take their fighting stances to confront the new merged Unversed threat. With their combined strength, they defeat the Unversed, and they take a brief moment to enjoy each other's company. Ven presents the three of them passes to a place called Disney Town and gives Terra and Aqua each one. Aqua then tells Ven that he needs to go home, and this is where things start to go off the rails.
Listen to me, Ven. We need to get you home.
It's okay, Aqua. Trust me, that guy in the mask is history. I'll never badmouth Terra again.
You saw the boy in the mask?
Yes?
Vanitas. Ven, you let Aqua take you home.
No way! I want to go with you guys.
You can't. We have a dangerous task ahead of us. I don't want you to get hurt.
And what is this dangerous task, Terra? It doesn't sound like what the Master told you to do.
It might be a different route, but I'm fighting the darkness.
I'm not so sure. I've been to the same worlds as you, and I've seen what you've done. You shouldn't put yourself so close to the darkness.
Listen to yourself, Aqua. Terra would never...
You mean you've been spying on me? Is that what he said to do? The Master's orders?
He was only...
Aqua?
I get it.
Terra?
Just stay put! I'm on my own now. All right?
Terra, please, listen! The Master has no reason to distrust you, really. He was just worried.
Terra tells them that he's on his own right now and leaves the two of them. And as he walks away, he tells himself that right now, the only person he can trust is Master Xehanort. So the one point in this story where the friends all converge and reunite and have a chance to work out whatever it was that happened during the Mark of Mastery exam to cause this friction ends up pushing them further apart. Terra and Aqua have this chance to work out this awkwardness between them, but understanding that part of Aqua's mission is to keep an eye on Terra is what Eric has asked her to do. He does not appreciate this, and he decides that rather than pull his friends closer to him, he pushes them away and tells himself that Master Xehanort is the only person he can truly fully trust right now, which is not a great move. And if you notice in the themes of Kingdom Hearts, keeping your friends close and the connections and the bonds that you share with people are the most important things in the series, in the world, in the universe. There's nothing more powerful than that. And people who tend to forsake those bonds or give up on those bonds or go against them tend to have awful things that happen to them. Look what happened to Riku in Kingdom Hearts 1. His obsession with power to get off of the island and his power to protect Kairi caused him to push Sora away, severing that bond of friendship, and he ended up trapped in the Dark Realm and is now still dealing with the repercussions of that decision. Roxas's decision to part from Axel, while understandable, caused all of that heartache in Kingdom Hearts 2, and Axel's decision to not tell Roxas and keep secrets from him, to not trust that bond of friendship that they had, caused basically the end of 358 Days to happen. Here we see the core tenet of the Kingdom Hearts universe being broken. You never, ever, ever, ever forsake your bonds of friendship, mistrust your friends, turn your back on your friends. As Terra makes his way out of town, he encounters someone that we know as he's walking to leave. A man we've seen in past games before. It's none other than Xigbar, one of the members of Organization 13. Although he looks significantly younger, he's missing his eye patch and facial scarring that make up a decent part of his physical appearance in the later games. Remember, this is 10 years before Kingdom Hearts 1, so he isn't a nobody yet. But he goes by the name of Braig instead, B-R-A-I-G. Toss a X in there, rearrange the letters, you have Xigbar. He makes an outlandish claim to Terra that he has captured Xehanort, and Xehanort is his prisoner and has come to bring Terra to him because he keeps asking Braig to do this. Terra pursues him to the Outer Gardens to see if this is true, and sure enough, it appears that Braig has Xehanort chained up, and he goes to confront Terra, saying that he wants a Keyblade, and even makes a cheeky reference by saying that everyone these days has one of those, which is kind of funny because in KH1 it was like, this is a special weapon, only Sora can wield it, to, oh, now Roxas has two, Riku has one, all of these people have Keyblades now. So just kind of like a little tongue-in-cheek joke there. I really, really do appreciate it. Braig says that if he defeats Terra, then that would make him the superior being and that he can take the Keyblade. He begins to assault Terra, and Terra is worried that if he fights back, that Braig may hurt Master Xehanort, and Braig pretty much says this as much. He says that if Terra tries to confront him, he's basically strapped Xehanort with all these explosives and will blow him up, which would have ended the arc and the series of stories way sooner than if Braig had just blown up Master Xehanort. But Xehanort's like, no, Terra, like, fuck this guy, fight him, use the Keyblade, and Terra confronts Braig and defeats him, dealing the winning blow by dipping into the power of darkness and blasting Braig in the face, scarring him and damaging his eye. And now we know why he has facial scarring, why he has an eye patch, because he's literally missing an eye because he tried to mess with Terra and with Xehanort. Terra frees Xehanort, but is shocked and upset that he used the power of darkness. But Xehanort encourages him, telling him to become his pupil.
Well done, Terra. You have taken yet another step forward.
But I was consumed by anger, hatred. That was the power of darkness.
Darkness that you channeled.
No. I succumbed to it. Just like when I stole Princess Aurora's Heart of Light. I can never return home now. I'm a failure.
Then don't. You could be my pupil. Master Ericus, you see, is so afraid of darkness that he too has succumbed. Not to darkness, but to light. It shines so bright, he forgets that light begets darkness. And Aqua and Ventus, their lights shine too bright. It is only natural that they cast shadows on your heart. Ericus is such a fool. Light and darkness, they are a balance, one that must always be maintained. Terra, you are the one who shows the true mark of mastery, but he refuses to see it. And I know why. It is because he fears you. Join me. You and I can do the world's much greater good by wielding light and darkness in equal shares.
Master Xehanort.
See more worlds. Seek out the darkness that upsets the balance. Find Vanitas and bring an end to him. Master Terra.
And here we see, again, Xehanort is basically telling Terra what he wants to hear, that Terra is the one that shows the true mark of mastery because of his acceptance of the darkness. He's basically telling Terra what he wants to hear and manipulating him. He tells Terra to seek out more worlds and destroy the darkness that upsets them, destroy Vanitas, and he ultimately calls him Master Terra. Again, playing with Terra's ego, manipulating him, telling him what he wants to hear. I'm sure Master Terra sounded awfully great in his ears when Xehanort told it to him. Terra goes to depart Radiant Garden, but Ventus catches up with him and begs to go with. Terra declines, and he tells Ven that Ven will really be there for him when Terra needs him to be, which Ven agrees, saying, yeah, of course I will be. We're friends. That's what friends do. And Terra smiles and then departs, leaving Ven behind. We get one last scene with Braig, who approaches Xehanort angrily, shooting him as the blasts bounce harmlessly off.
Hey, you old coot! You said I wouldn't get hurt! I didn't sign up to be collateral damage! No way! As if!
Okay, fine. Just put that down. You still need me. You still need me to do something, right? And all I'm asking is that you hold up your end of the bargain. I mean, what's a little scratch on my face, huh? All things considered. I'm just lucky he didn't steal my heart like Princess whatever it was. That would have ruined my week for sure.
Unlikely. A powerful light still lives inside of Terra. You see, people like him, they don't have the power to steal hearts.
So it's clear now that Braig was just somebody that was working with Xehanort and helping him with his manipulations toward Terra under the agreement that Braig would get a Keyblade out of it. I'll tie Braig / Xigbar stuff in at the end here because him being here makes things that happen later in Kingdom Hearts 2 make so much more sense. Like, it totally makes more sense why Xigbar would let on and that he knows more than he knows, make the comments that he does. It just makes more sense. So we get into the back half of the worlds. To me, the back half of the worlds aren't as interesting. The more interesting stuff happens in the Princesses of Hearts worlds and in Radiant Garden. So I'll brush through these last couple worlds pretty quickly. Terra finds himself in Disney Town, which is basically the minigame world. There's not much going on in Disney Town. It's a minigame world where Terra's minigame is kart racing. There's some shenanigans with Pete cheating, trying to win the Million Dreams Award, which is basically the most upstanding citizen award. That shows how he gets banished to another dimension and subsequently rescued Maleficent. Terra races and helps defeat Pete's alter ego, Captain Dark, and he, Aqua, and Ven win the Million Dreams Award, but Terra is the only one there to accept it. Terra basically learns that there are no shortcuts to achieving what you want. You can't cheat your way to the top, blah, blah, blah. That's a very fuzzy, nice message from that world, but that's basically all it is. We go to a familiar but slightly different world. It is the Olympus Coliseum. Again, in terms of story, there's not too much going on here. Terra arrives to find a young pre-hero Hercules surrounded by Unversed, which he helps save Hercules from the Unversed. And Hercules tells him about the games, so Terra goes to see how strong he has become to basically test himself. As Terra approaches the Colosseum, he runs into, who else? Hades, who upon seeing Terra and the darkness inside him, decides to manipulate and rope him into his plan to, get some kind of one-up on Zeus. He convinces Terra that signing up for the games will help him conquer the darkness inside of him. So Terra goes through the games, and Terra's final opponent is none other than a Final Fantasy character. And not only that, a Final Fantasy VII character. And not only that, it's not Cloud, but this is thematically appropriate since the game is 10 years in the past. It is none other than Zack Fair, who, surprise, surprise, is also being manipulated by Hades. And as Terra fights him, he realizes that Zack is being controlled, and Terra realizes that Hades would have done the same to him if he had given in to the darkness. Terra defeats the controlled Zack, freeing him from Hades' clutches, spoiling Hades' good time, and they agree to fight each other again sometime fair and square. Terra goes to the next world, and while traversing the lanes between, Terra is overcome by a gigantic spaceship traversing the stars, and when he awakes, he's in a prison cell being watched by characters from Lilo and Stitch. That's right, this is a Lilo and Stitch world. He's being watched by the Grand Councilwoman and Captain Gantu. But the two have to make a hasty retreat as Unversed appear on the ship. Terra uses his Keyblade to escape his prison cell and defeat the Unversed. And Terra meets Dr. Jumba, who is Stitch's creator, and again, a antagonist / villain who manipulates Terra by telling him he was falsely imprisoned for creating Stitch. He convinces Terra to set him free and help Jumba rescue Stitch, who is preparing to be banished to the far reaches of space. Terra agrees and sets him free, escorting him through the ship to find his experiment. The two find Stitch in containment, and Jumba frees him. Stitch immediately jumps onto Terra, steals his Wayfinder, but strangely returns it to him when Terra cries out that his friend made it for him. And Terra laughs, saying that he's been striving to prove himself as more independent, but at the first thought of his friends, as soon as something valuable that his friend gave him is stolen from him, his heart reveals his true feelings, that he really cares about them. Jumba, who's not impressed when Terra asks him if Stitch just needs some friends, he frees another one of his experiments to fight Terra, which is one of the experiments featured in the Lilo and Stitch TV show, and one of the very rare instances that Disney TV makes an appearance here. Stitch returns, and Terra tries to make friends with him, only to have the alarms in the ship go off due to their prison break. Jumba and Stitch make a break for it, and Terra makes a portal, escaping into the lanes between. The next world he goes to is Neverland. Again, story-wise, not much going on here, but Terra once again ends up manipulated by the Disney villain after rescuing Hook and Smee from the Unverse, agreeing to help Captain Hook protect his treasure from Peter Pan because he tells Terra that it contains the light. And a boy who's after the light sounds a lot like Vanitas, so Terra falls for this manipulation once again. You figured after all this time of bad guys manipulating Terra that his guard would be up a little more, but underneath his struggles with darkness, there's a person who really wants to do good and help, and he just doesn't know any better. As predicted, Pan shows up to try and steal the treasure as Terra's on guard. As Pan and Terra fight, Terra comes to discover this deception that the chest is simply filled with gold and jewels, not light. Through their conversation, they discover that Hook and Smee have gone after Tinkerbell, and Pan flies off to rescue her. After fighting an unversed swarm, Hook reappears with Tinkerbell captured, but Terra frees her, and Hook takes off when he hears the tick-tock of his sworn enemy, the crocodile. And as Tinkerbell flies overhead, he has a flashback to the night that he, Aqua, and Ven spent under the stars before all of this started. The Lost Boys are bummed about not having any treasure, but Terra tells them to take the chest and fill it with their own treasures. Terra leaves this world, and he continues his journey flying in the lanes between, when he sees a bright, warm, shining light emanating from a world. And when he lands, he finds himself on none other than Destiny Islands. He looks by his feet and he sees the star-shaped Paupu fruit, holding it up beside his wayfinder and remembering Aqua's words that the fruit was the inspiration for her making the wayfinder good luck charms. As Terra approaches a tree full of Paupu fruit, he wonders if him, Aqua, and Ven will ever be a team again, realizing that the things that once held them together are now the very things that have created cracks in their friendship. As he stands here in thought, though, who should run by him as he contemplates? The none other than two young boys, no more than 4 or 5 years old. It's a young Riku and a young Sora. And Terra immediately takes notice of Riku and his light, wondering if that's why he was brought here in order to meet him. As Sora sprints ahead of Riku back to the boats, Riku walks back and takes notice of Terra standing on the beach.
Hey, did you come from the outside world?
Huh? Why would you say that?
Because nobody lives out here, and I know you're not from the main island.
Smart kid. So how about you? What are you doing here?
Oh, my friend's dad took us out on the boat. This is where we like to play. But they won't let us row out here by ourselves. Not until we get older.
Must be hard, huh? Stuck in one place?
I heard once there was a kid who left for good.
Riku also mentions that there was a kid once who left this world, and we get a flashback to a young man standing staring at the waves, with stark white hair, dressed in black. Terra asks Riku what his interest in the outside world is, and Riku says he wants to become strong one day, like the kid who left, and he wants the strength to protect the things that matter. This seems to resonate with Terra, so Terra tells him that there are many worlds out there as he summons his Keyblade. Terra then performs what we see for the first time is called the Bequeathing Ceremony, holding the Keyblade out to Riku and telling him that by taking the Keyblade, he will one day wield it and be able to leave this world.
In your hand, take this key. So long as you have the makings, then through this simple act of taking, its wielder you shall one day be, and you will find me, friend. No ocean will contain you then. No more borders around or below or above, so long as you champion the ones you love.
Riku takes it for just a moment before Sora's yell from the docks interrupt him. Terra tells Riku to keep it a secret, otherwise it won't work, to which, of course, Sora starts to pester Riku immediately to tell Sora what happened, which Riku just plays coy and doesn't say anything. Okay. This scene is huge. It reframes everything we think we know about the first couple of games. It gives us an understanding as to why Riku was so keen to leave the island when they got older. Terra appeared to him, and the timeline makes sense. This is 10 years ago. Riku was 15 when they left the island. Terra appears and told him of the outside world and gave him the ability to use the Keyblade. Riku was always meant to have it, but his desire for power to leave the islands corrupted his heart, And so when that fateful night occurred in Kingdom Hearts 1, it wasn't Riku who the Keyblade came to, it was Sora. This also explains why Riku could take the Keyblade from Sora and Hollow Bastion in the first game, and why he can wield one now. This bit of Keyblade lore is interesting, this whole ceremony that Terra performs, allowing for the ability to wield the Keyblade to be passed on if its owner is found worthy, rather than just having a Keyblade choose someone at random. But as far as we know right now, this never happened to Sora. He never got this ability passed on. Terra chose Riku. And Terra obviously sees a lot of himself in Riku, based on Riku's responses, that he wants the strength to travel to outside worlds and protect his friends. And Terra can relate to that and notes that the light inside of Riku is very strong. This is something that Terra values as well. He values his strength to protect his friends and to travel. But his obsession with power and strength and his obsession with succeeding are what are driving some of the darker emotions, the dark thoughts that lead him down the path of darkness. I wasn't kidding when I said that Birth by Sleep changes everything we think we know. And this is the part of the story in Kingdom Hearts where everything that happens for a reason. Everything in Kingdom Hearts 1 now appears to be set in motion by this fateful visit, by the things that Terra tells Riku, and by his choice to give him the ability to wield the Keyblade. Keep that in mind, because we aren't done on Destiny Islands yet. In the next two story paths of Ven and Aqua, we'll get a little bit more out of this. Terra departs Destiny Islands, and as he leaves, he thinks he spots Ven traveling through the lanes between with him. Far off in the distance is a streaking line of light, but before he can act on this, Xehanort calls him in his head once again to come and find him, and that it's very urgent. Their conversation is incredibly brief. Terra doesn't even take off his armor. He doesn't even get off his glider thing.
Master Xehanort, you wish to see me?
There is no time to lose. I have terrible news. Ventus has stumbled upon the secrets of his origins.
Ven? I just saw him. He passed right in front of me. What happened?
Ventus is on his way home. If you could have seen the fury in his eyes. I'm certain he's capable of anything. I fear the boy may attempt to force the truth out of Ericus. Master Terra, you must hurry back and see to your friend's safety.
Of course.
Xehanort tells Terra, calling him Master, that he must go save his friend, setting Terra on a collision course with his master. So what Xehanort's telling Terra, whether this is the half-truth or manipulation of the truth, is that Ven discovered what Xehanort did to him, and Ericus kept it from him all these years, and now Ven is going to confront Ericus. Thus, the plots of Xehanort deepen. Terra returns to the land of departure just in time to see Ericus raising his Keyblade against Ventus, sending chains of light to destroy him, but Terra jumps in just in time to save him. And here we get an amazing emotional exchange between Terra and Ericus.
What?
Master! Have you gone mad?
Terra! I command you, step aside.
No!
You will not heed your master?
I won't!
Why do all my attempts to reach you fail? If you don't have it in your heart to obey, then you will have to share Ventus's fate.
As Ericus rushes to fight Terra with a tear running down his cheek, saying that if he can't obey, then he will have to share Ventus's fate, as Ericus raises his own Keyblade against his former students. Which is surprising because as a paragon of light, you wouldn't expect this reaction from Ericus. And this is a masterful performance by Mark Hamill, who has more recently played this type of flawed master role in the new Star Wars trilogy, but we won't touch on that as to not make waves with the Star Wars fandom. Ericus's power is fearsome, with the light forming a blinding aura around him, similar to the way we've seen darkness form auras around people. Terra is enraged. He is so furious, saying that even though Ericus is his master, he will not let him hurt his friend, as an aura of darkness explodes around Terra.
You may be my master, but I will not let you hurt my friend!
Has the darkness taken you, Terra?
He tosses Ven back as he summons a portal and transports him away from the land of departure. Terra fights Ericus to the point of near exhaustion, using the power of darkness. And this is a boss fight. You fight Ericus, and this fight is so fucking cool. And Ericus is pretty tough. And you get to see all these people wielding pronounced abilities, exaggerated abilities of the darkness. Ericus is the polar opposite. He wields these pronounced abilities of light. Maybe the only person we've seen do this in some kind of manner is Roxas when you fight him in Kingdom Hearts 2. All of Ericus' attacks are light-based. Energy spheres of light, chains of light, slashes and arcs of light. And as you fight him, you remember some of what Xehanort told you, that despite the fact that darkness and light make up everything, Ericus had been blinded by his devotion to the light. As Ericus stands before Terra breathing heavily, he can't believe what he has done. He is beside himself that he raised his Keyblade against Ven and Terra.
No, you were right. I failed you, Terra. Perhaps I've no one to blame but myself for the darkness inside you. And now I've done worse. Raised my Keyblade against you and Ventus. My own heart is darkness.
Suddenly, Ericus is struck from behind, dropping his Keyblade and falling to his knees, disappearing in particles of light before Terra can grab him. Terra falls to his knees, crying for his fallen master, nay, his father. Ericus even calls Terra the son he never had, and who should step forward to stand in front of him? None other than Master Xehanort, finally making his move to finish off Ericus once and for all.
What a sight. Why do you trouble yourself with remorse, Master Terra? The man was bent on doing harm to your friend, his own pupil.
Master Xehanort, why?
You know, at times I find your progress quite striking. But you still fall short. Let all that anger out, my boy. Give your heart over to darkness.
What do you mean?
Still so blind. Then I will make you see. Come to the place where all Keyblade wielders leave their mark on fate. The Keyblade Graveyard. There you will watch your dear Ventus and Aqua meet their ends. And the last light within you will die.
Xehanort then summons a maelstrom of darkness, similar to the one we saw in Kingdom Hearts 1 that destroyed the Destiny Islands, and it begins to destroy the land of departure, ripping buildings from their foundations and casting the world into darkness. As Xehanort tells Terra he won't need a home anymore where he's going. Gripping his Wayfinder tight, Terra promises to his friends that he won't let Xehanort hurt them before flying off to the Keyblade Graveyard to face Master Xehanort once and for all. If you remember back to Chain of Memories, Mickey Mouse touches on this a little bit. King Mickey does, right? King Mickey, at the start of that game, in a similar way, has a very single-minded devotion to the light and harbors an extreme hatred towards the darkness. And this is kind of how this dichotomy has been presented throughout the entire series so far, is that light good, darkness bad. But similar to Star Wars, everything must exist in balance, correct? Xehanort blames Ericus for a too strong of imbalance, too strong bias towards the light, and that light begets darkness, and you can't have one without the other. In a way, I kind of agree with Xehanort, because we see here that Ericus is so obsessed with the light that it drove him to try to kill his own students. You wouldn't think that somebody who carries light in their heart would act that way. As I explained in previous episodes, this dichotomy of light and darkness, it is not inherent that darkness is evil. It is not inherent that light is good. As with everything, there must be a balance, and too much of one or the other can have corrupting effects. Terra returns to the Badlands, which is the world we now know as the Keyblade Graveyard, and as Terra looks around, there are signs of a titanic clash. It's not even describable. Craters in the ground, gorges carved out of mountains. The land is choked with dust. The ground beneath his feet is cracked and barren. Whatever happened here rendered this place an inhospitable wasteland. And after resolving to do whatever it takes for his friends, Terra marches forward to meet destiny. And the title screen for the world appears, Keyblade Graveyard, made up of the designs of Ven's, Aqua's, and Terra's Keyblades. Eventually, Terra finds himself in the middle of a crossroads, surrounded by a field sticking out of the ground, hundreds of thousands of dead, rusting Keyblades. Their numbers are uncountable. And as he stands there, he sees Aqua approach.
I was told the master was struck down.
Yes, that's right. I was stupid and helped Xehanort do it. The Master. He tried to hurt Ven. I only fought because I wanted to protect him. But I was tricked. Xehanort set the whole thing up. Also, he could awaken the darkness inside me. You were right, Aqua. And so was the Master. I did need to be watched. I went astray. But no more.
What else is darkness but hate and rage? Xehanort is feeding the dark fires within you, making you fight. You'll go astray again. Tell me, how does that honor our master's memory, Terra?
Before they can resolve this, though, Ventus approaches, and the three friends reunite. Ventus tells them the part of Xehanort's plan that he has uncovered, that he wants Ventus and Vanitas to fight to forge a Keyblade. Not just any Keyblade, though. A Keyblade that is spelled with the Greek letter X, or Ki, or Chi, the Greek letter representing X.
Xehanort wants me and Vanitas to fight. Make some kind of Keyblade. But the Master said we can't let that happen. And he tried to destroy me for it.
Keyblade?
I still don't know exactly what it is. But it scares me to death. Even just the thought of it.
Relax, Ben. We're here, and we're gonna take care of you.
We're not quite sure what this is, and we won't have more information until we play the rest of the stories, but Terra reassures Ven that him and Aqua won't let that happen. And it is here that Ven makes an absolutely heartbreaking plea.
I may have to fight Vanitas after all. If I do, guys, I want you to...
The three of us can never be torn apart, all right? I'll always find a way.
I'm asking you, as a friend. Just put an end to me.
Which is a rather somber thing to be said, especially in Kingdom Hearts, but they're already too late. Xehanort approaches with the masked boy Vanitas at his side. Xehanort explains where they are.
Behold, these lifeless keys used to be full of power. united with the hearts of their masters. On this barren soil, Keyblades of light and darkness were locked in combat. As a great Keyblade war raged, countless Keyblade wielders gave up their lives, all in search of one ultimate key. And it will soon belong to me.
The three friends activate their armor and spring into action, with Terra rushing Xehanort, who, with the flick of his hand, simply, basically earthbends the ground and sends the ground rocketing towards the sky, forming a gigantic pillar of earth into the air. And with another wave of his hand, standing atop this tall pillar, summons a stream. He pulls the dead Keyblades out of the ground and forms them into like this deadly stream of Keyblades that begin flying through the air in a deadly column. And Vanitas jumps onto this, dealing severe damage to the three friends as the Keyblades all fucking whirl around in this gigantic storm. The battle that unfolds is intense. It's stunning. I would recommend watching the secret ending of Kingdom Hearts 2 just to see how this battle plays out, because it really is an incredible secret movie. You get so much more visual than me trying to. I'm going to try and explain it here, but so much happens. There's so much action. I would recommend going to watch it. One thing I'd like to note is that we notice Aqua's armor specifically looks a lot like the armor that was in Xemnas' Chamber of Repose under the Radiant Garden Castle, the armor that he referred to as friend, but we'll touch on that a little bit later. Aqua goes to protect Terra, who is having dead Keyblades just rain down on him, and she uses Reflect to protect him, which causes a gigantic explosion and causes Terra to land right in front of Xehanort as Ven rushes in to help his friend. As Xehanort faces down Terra, Ven tries to sneak a blow in from behind, only for Xehanort to like instant transmission behind him and grab him by the head, and he begins to squeeze his head and crack his helmet with his grip. Before Terra can help Ven, he gets blasted away by another round of Keyblades whirling through the air, and Xehanort uses his immense power to cast Blizzard and freeze Ventus nearly solid, tossing him off the cliff. Aqua sees this from down below and dives to catch him before he hits the ground, and she asks Ven if he's okay. He can't respond, but his eyes are moving, indicating that he's still alive. Xehanort's Keyblade transforms into like a purplish dark ball of energy, and after this, he shoots a beam of power. He shoots a beam of like darkness into the sky. The clouds part to reveal the moon-shaped visage of none other than Kingdom Hearts. We transition away for a brief moment to see approaching the familiar shoes and tail of King Mickey, who has arrived on the scene to help. Terra picks himself up off the ground, discarding his helmet, and he races towards the top of the earthen pillar, where he confronts Xehanort and Vanitas, where he demands to know what Xehanort did to Ven. And Xehanort merely taunts him, dropping the facade once and for all. You have a brief scripted fight with Xehanort and Vanitas at the same time, and in the middle of this, Xehanort commands Vanitas to go and take what Ventus owes him and to kill Aqua. And as Vanitas leaves, Terra tries to give chase but finds his path blocked by Xehanort at every turn.
You see how powerless you are to save them. Savor that rage and despair. Let it empower you!
You'll pay, Xehanort. Was my master? No. My father, Eric, is not enough for you? Leave my friends alone!
Yes, boy, that's it. More! Let your whole heart blacken with anger!
And Terra is overcome with rage and despair, telling Xehanort that he will pay as he explodes with the energy of darkness, finally giving in, desperate for the power to save his friends and end this conflict. The boss fight that follows is so cathartic because you finally get to beat the shit out of Xehanort after having him taunt and manipulate you for like 10 hours at this point. It's so cathartic, and it's a really, really good boss fight, and it shows off. It's the first time, not the first time, because you fight Roxas in Kingdom Hearts 2, but it's like the first time where you fight another like fully fledged Keyblade wielder one-on-one, and Xehanort shows off the full array of abilities of a Keyblade master. Magic, powerful attacks, his speed, despite the fact that he's an old man, absolutely tough. But you go through this boss fight, and Terra defeats him, forcing him to his knees as he gasps for breath. Suddenly, behind Terra, further down on the ground, there's an explosion of light as Xehanort exclaims that the Keyblade is being forged, and Terra cries out Ven's name in a moment of temporary distraction, taking his eyes off of Xehanort. And it is here that Xehanort enacts one of the branches of his final plan. He raises his Keyblade and he stabs himself with his own Keyblade, causing his heart to be extracted from his body.
And now, Terra, it is time for the final union!
What?
At last our moment is here. Out with the old and brittle vessel, and in with a younger, stronger new one. I swore I would survive, and be there to see what awaited beyond the Keyblade War. And now it is your darkness that shall be the arc that sustains me!
It all starts to make sense. Xehanort was manipulating Terra to serve as his new vessel. Xehanort knew his body had become older, and he wanted a new, young vessel to sustain his life so his work could continue. He sends his heart hurtling towards Terra, who tries to activate his armor to protect himself, but he's too slow. As Xehanort's body fades away, Terra's armor falls from his body, revealing Terra, but now with white hair and piercing yellow eyes. And he speaks in the voice of Ansem, Seeker of Darkness, giving his famous speech from Kingdom Hearts 1.
This heart belongs again to darkness. All worlds begin in darkness, and also end. The heart is no different. Darkness sprouts within it. It grows, consumes it. Such is its nature. In the end, every heart returns to the darkness whence it came.
We see Terra Xehanort, or Terranort as he's referred to by the community, summon Xehanort's Keyblade and begin to walk away, but the top of the earthen pillar they are fighting on becomes surrounded in a dome of light and chains. And kneeling on the ground in front of Terranort is Terra's suit of armor, assembled, just the way the lingering will was kneeling in Kingdom Hearts 2.
Your body submits, your heart succumbs, so why does your mind resist?
This is why the lingering will is called the lingering will. Terra's power to resist, his will to keep fighting, is embodied in his empty suit of armor. Xehanort has taken his body and his heart, but his mind, his will, fights back and resists. Finally revealing the mystery of the lingering will, Sora encountered Terra's trapped will in Kingdom Hearts 2. And here, this is the coolest fucking boss fight. Terra, his will inhabiting his armor, fighting his Xehanort-possessed body, and the Terranort even pulls out some moves that Ansem, Seeker of Darkness uses. This fight is absolutely brutal. Terranort is fast, he's powerful. The Guardian that Ansem, Seeker of Darkness has in Kingdom Hearts 1 is present here as well. This fight is incredibly brutal. It's one of the most difficult fights in the game. But the armor of Terra defeats his possessed body and simply kneels down in the position we find him in Kingdom Hearts 2. Terranort lays on the ground unconscious, and an explosion of light slowly envelops the surrounding area from below, including the the Lingering Will, Terra Xehanort, and who knows who else. All that is left when the light clears is the kneeling armor of Terra, as the clouds close upon the pale blue heart-shaped moon, and as the scene fades to black, we hear Terra's voice one last time.
Aqua. Ven. One day, I will set this right.
Before we close out this episode, let's explain some things. Now, things are going to be a little bit confusing because in order to get the full picture, we have to play all of the story paths. We have to play Ven's story, we have to play Aqua's story to find out what this Master Keyblade is, to find out what happened to Ven and Aqua, Vanitas, all that stuff. But we get some really key information revealed to us in Terra's story. Let's tie that back in to some of the lingering mysteries from Kingdom Hearts 1, Chain of Memories, and Kingdom Hearts 2. As we discovered in Kingdom Hearts 2, Ansem, Seeker of Darkness, and Xemnas, leader of Organization 13, were the heartless and nobody of a man named Xehanort, who was the apprentice of Ansem the Wise. We now know for a fact that Xehanort is in fact the body of Terra possessed by Master Xehanort. That's the biggest thing. Part of Xehanort's plan that included Terra was to get him to accept the darkness so that he could serve as Xehanort's vessel, stabs himself, takes his heart out, puts it into Terra. He has a new young body. He can continue to persist for whatever his goals are. And the fusion of Xehanort with Terra's darkness is very formidable. So, somewhere in between all of this, whatever happens at the end of Birth by Sleep, Terra Xehanort survives, becomes the Xehanort that is the apprentice of Ansem that we know, conducts all these fucked up experiments, and willingly turns himself into a Heartless who calls himself Ansem, Seeker of Darkness, and the nobody Xemnas, who is the leader of Organization 13. So all the villains that we've fought, everything so far in the entire series, has all been under the machinations, or connected somehow to Master Xehanort. Secondly, the armored individuals that were hinted at in the Chamber of Repose scene and the secret ending of Kingdom Hearts 2 are in fact Terra, Aqua, and Ventus. The secret movie is the climactic final showdown of the game, which is kind of ballsy if you think about it. Be like, hey, we're going to show you a piece of the next game. Oh, by the way, it's the end of the fucking game. It's the climax of the game, a snippet of it. Absolutely insane. And it makes sense then why Xemnas would call Aqua's armor his friend, right? Because Xemnas ultimately comes from Terra Xehanort, who Master Xehanort took over. And so Terra Xehanort, in some kind of sick, fucked up way, his nobody would call Aqua his friend, right? That's kind of messed up. We'll talk about that more when we touch on Aqua's story. Xehanort's plan is multifaceted. We see from a brief conversation with Ventus that he has a plan for each one of the Wayfinder trio, and for this part, we'll stick with Terra. At this point in his life, Xehanort is old, his body is frail despite displaying a lot of power. At the Mark of Mastery exam, he saw Terra's affinity for darkness, incorporated him into his plan, plotting to take over his body to see the continuation of his plans. Terra was the perfect candidate as he towed the line between light and dark. This isn't unheard of either. We know from Kingdom Hearts 1 that evil Keyblade wielders have the power to extract hearts from people. Terra does this to Princess Aurora. Xehanort does this to himself. Dark Riku extracts all the hearts of the princesses to make the Keyblade that he uses to fight Sora later in Kingdom Hearts 1. I screamed about this earlier already. The secret boss fight in Kingdom Hearts 2 is the Lingering Will. That is actually Terra's armor, explaining why it says the things it does in the Kingdom Hearts 2 episode, telling Sora he isn't the boy he chose / met on the island, and flying into a rage when he mistakes Sora for Xehanort. In terms of Terra's story arc, it is compelling. I think as a character and as he is performed, I find him the least interesting of the trio of heroes. As each of the three protagonists journey through the same worlds, we see that Terra interacts and spends a lot of time with the Disney villains from their worlds, sometimes even being manipulated by them. And this is in line with his inner struggle with the darkness. The darkness doesn't inherently make Terra a bad person, but as we've seen in Kingdom Hearts and so many other stories, the desire for power often results in unfortunate things happening and you falling into the darkness. But there are instances in the story of people being able to use the power of darkness and really kind of coexist with it, not lose their whole being, right? Riku is an example of this. Ansem the Wise is an example of this. He uses the power of darkness to escape from the Dark Realm. Terra's failure at the Mark of Mastery exam creates a distance between him and his friends as he seeks isolation instead of comfort in the bonds of friendship. This is in direct confrontation to the core tenets of the Kingdom Hearts story. You never, ever turn your back on your friends or sever the bonds that connect you with them. This always turns bad. Again, like I said, look at Riku in Kingdom Hearts 1, who has a similar arc. His desire for power, to leave for other worlds, eventually rescue Kairi, sets him at odds with Sora, and he gives up on Sora and falls to darkness. The decisions that Terra makes then ultimately allow him to be manipulated by Master Xehanort, who feeds into his insecurities by telling him what he wants to hear, ultimately leading to Terra to help Xehanort remove Ericus from the equation, one of the few individuals capable of stopping Xehanort. Terra realizes his mistakes when the three heroes come together in the Keyblade Graveyard, but it's ultimately too late. The damage has been done, and because the trio didn't trust their bonds of friendship, Terra loses his body, and who knows what else happened to Aqua and Ven. We'll talk more about the Keyblade, the X-Blade, and Kingdom Hearts, Vanitas, and some other loose ends in Ven's story, which is up next, which will add even more clarity to the tragedy that occurs at the end of Terra's path. Terra's story is kind of like the framing of the puzzle, and as we go through the other two stories, we'll fill pieces in so we get a full grasp of what the story is. I just figured it'd be more interesting to tell each character's story than to like jump between and be like, Terra did this, and then Ven did that, and then Aqua did this, and then Terra did this, and then Ven did this, and Aqua did. I just feel like that jumping all over the place wouldn't have presented a coherent thing, and this allows me to give each character their own episode to shine and really highlight what their story was. A couple more things. Terra's encounter with Riku and Sora on Destiny Islands dramatically reframes the events of the first few games. It gives us a different perspective on Riku's motivations to leave the island, why he's able to wield the Keyblade, and as we continue with the next two stories, it drastically changes our understanding of Sora's role in everything. After playing this game, if you go back and you play the first 3-4 games, it changes your view on a lot of interactions we see throughout those games. And with this knowledge, it makes those playthroughs even more rewarding. Because I initially thought when this started happening that Birth by Sleep was an excuse for Nomura to like keep dragging the series on. And I thought that during Kingdom Hearts 1, he didn't really have this all the way planned out. But it's very clear by the final mix versions, by the secret movies, all that stuff, that this was his plan for this series all along. And the prequel, Birth by Sleep, reframes the first couple of games and informs the rest of the arc going forward to Kingdom Hearts 3 and reveals that everything, every tragedy that has happened so far can somehow be linked back to Master Xehanort as the sole purpose. Xigbar, Braig, as he is in this game, Xigbar, being involved with Master Xehanort clears up a lot. This explains why he always seems to know more than he does in Kingdom Hearts 2 and 358 Days. He was with Xehanort from the beginning. So it would make sense that he knew Xehanort before any of the other members of the organization. He knew Xehanort in his original incarnation as the old man. And then obviously stayed in touch with him, got connected with Xemnas, worked for the organization. So Xigbar's been in with Xehanort since the very beginning, or at least since Xehanort hired him to help manipulate Terra. So that explains a lot as to why Xigbar knows more than the other members of the organization, because he was there, right? He fought Terra. It makes perfect sense. So we'll touch on Xigbar again in the epilogue. We'll kind of tie in all the stuff that he knows, because he may or may not show up again. We'll have to see. I have things to say about Master Xehanort, but again, I'll save that for the conclusion of all the stories. Knowing his involvement is basically the catalyst for everything changes so much. But with that being said, I'm going to wrap it up here, because that is a pretty lengthy episode. You have the entire history of the game, plus the first story, the story of Terra, and that is a lot to digest. There might be some blank spots. There might be some questions you have. If you listen to the next 2 episodes and get the entire story, things will make a lot more sense. And then the 4th episode will wrap everything up in a nice tight bow. Get ready for Recoded. Get ready for Dream Drop Distance, because that's when stuff with Xehanort starts to get crazy. It's going to be awesome. But thank you guys so much for tuning in, for listening to the story of Terra, for listening to part 1 of Birth by Sleep. Got a couple more parts to go. I'm very excited to talk about Ven's story, because it's probably the most interesting story. And I'm very excited to talk about Aqua's story, because I think out of all the characters, Aqua can really be seen as the main character of this game. And you'll see why when you listen to that episode. But that's going to do it for Guiding Keys for Unlockables today. Thank you guys so much. If you liked the show, if you enjoyed what you heard, if you want to talk to me, go to linktr.ee/Unlockables podcast. Follow me on Twitter. I'm not calling it X unless Elon starts charging us $1, which in case I won't be on Twitter anymore. So if that's the case, join the Discord. We've got a really awesome, smaller Discord full of incredible video game content creators, incredible people. We talk about games, we talk about life, food, sports, everything in between. Share memes. It's a really, really great time. So if you want to be part of that, find the link tree. As always, to leave you guys with this, it's not just a story of video games, it is a story of you, and may your heart be your guiding key.